the launch of the Terra 2 blockchain, what it means for UST and Luna holders, which protocols are staying, which protocols are going. Here's everything you need to know. This is the Lunar Orbit podcast, and today is Thursday, the 26th of May of 2022. Now squash that like button and let's get into it. Okay guys, so much to cover today. As you're no doubt aware, there has been a massive implosion in the Terra ecosystem after UST depegged and at least $40 billion worth of value suddenly vanished in the space of about 3 days. Now this tweet thread here from Ape Digest does a really good summary of how the events played out, and it looks like that the Luna ecosystem and UST in particular was attacked by some bad actors who could see a weakness in the design and could profit from it, so it was exploited to the full extent. And the rumours are some Wall Street hedge funds profited by the tune of about $1 billion as a result. Basically, the attackers could cause a depeg, which would kick off the death spiral, which we'd been warned about for some months on Twitter, and many of us dismissed it. I myself included thought that Terra was too big to fail. And to give you an idea of the scale of this, the market cap of the Luna ecosystem was about the same size as Lehman Brothers, which collapsed and triggered the global financial crisis and Great Recession in 2008 and 2009. This thread here from White Whale goes into the details of the peg itself and the troubles that it faced during the meltdown, and it's well worth the read. They did everything they could to maintain the peg, and they managed to do that on chain for quite some time, but it was actually the depegging in other liquidity sources on centralized exchanges and on Ethereum through the curve pool that was the main problem. This is another excellent tweet thread from Redphonecrypto that I highly recommend reading. It's about UST and algorithmic stablecoins in general and the problems that they face, some of the things that the industry can learn to make sure that this never happens again. If anything, this episode just proves that we really do need a form of decentralized money, but we're a long way from that. But in future, it'll probably have to grow more organically and be fully collateralized. Clearly, UST grew too quickly, and the mechanisms that were designed to defend the peg weren't fully implemented when they needed them most. Unfortunately, the treasuries of many protocols on Terra had their entire asset base within the ecosystem and have been devastated. However, even without UST, I believe the Terra ecosystem has some fundamental value based off its strong community and exceptional development teams. So Terra 2 is going to be a new blockchain to help maintain what has already been built. The proposal has been approved and the new chain will be launching soon, with a snapshot happening in about 12 hours time. And this is what the token distribution is going to look like. 30% of the 1 billion Luna tokens that will be on the Terra 2 blockchain will go to the community pool, with 10% being earmarked for developers. Pre-attack Luna holders will get 35% of the new tokens, while pre-attack UST holders will get 10%. Doe has also mentioned that the remaining Terraform Labs funds will go somewhat to make as many pre-UST holders whole as possible. The full details of this have not yet been made public though. Post-attack Luna holders will receive 10% of the new tokens, and this rewards people who have bought the dip. The final 15% of new tokens will go to post-UST holders, also to reward them for holding the whole way down or buying the dip. They've helped to provide exit liquidity for those trying to get out of UST, even at a massive loss. Now the snapshot for the post-UST and Luna holders is going to be happening soon, sooner than most people realise, as it's based on the block time of the Terra 1 chain. And ironically, at roughly 4:20 PM on the 26th is when it's going to happen. So if you want to get an extra airdrop by buying some Luna and UST, I suggest you do it soon. Now Terra Watcher has released some important details on the launch of the Terra 2 chain. Most people thought that the initial 30% of tokens that they would receive would be bonded, meaning they would be staked on the network and would take 21 days to unstake before they became liquid and tradable. However, Terra Watcher has confirmed that they will be tradable from day one and will simply appear in your wallet. He's also confirmed that you will retain the same address that you used on the previous chain. Now you may have to upgrade the Terra Station wallet to access it, but that's unclear at this stage. What this means is that there's going to be a lot more tokens tradable on day one than initially thought, but it's still a relatively small percentage of total tokens overall. The development teams will need liquidity and runway to maintain their operations, so probably will be forced to sell a lot of the Luna tokens on day one. Also, a lot of people who have been speculating on the UST and Luna prices and picking up new tokens may run for the exits, and understandably a lot of people are in financial distress from all of this, so we'll also need to recoup some losses, at least initially. So I'm expecting the token to dump pretty hard in the first few days. Terra Watcher seems to think that a $5 valuation per Luna is about right, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And as we can see from this coin particle tweet, UST is one of the top gainers today as people try to buy more to get more of the Luna airdrop. This tool here on TerraRarity.io is also useful for working out exactly how many tokens you can expect, and I'll link this in the show notes. Before I continue, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Hi, I'm Gerry, host of the Lunar Orbit podcast, where I provide regular alpha and updates on all things Terra Luna. And if you enjoy this content, consider supporting the channel by smashing that like button, hitting subscribe, and hitting the notifications bell so you get all my videos in a timely fashion. Now onto the protocols themselves. This tweet from Ape Digest is a few days old, but is a good high-level summary of where most protocols are going to be headed. Now everything is in a bit of a state of flux and subject to change, but to my understanding, this is where most protocols are headed. As we can see, there's still an awful lot of value on the Terra 2 blockchain just from these initial protocols which have decided to stay. Now Astroport seemed to take quite some time to confirm what they were doing, and in the meantime, a new decentralized exchange has announced itself. Phoenix Finance has announced itself as the flagship DEX for Terra 2. And since then, Astroport has also announced it will be returning. Key DeFi protocols such as Anchor, Prism, Nebula, Digma, Spectrum, Kinetic, and Reactor have also announced that they will be returning to Terra 2, while NFT platforms, One Planet, Random Earth, and Nova Art have also confirmed. The Galactic Punk DAO is also intending to stay on Terra 2. However, some key protocols have announced they will be moving. Now some of these protocols could end up being on Terra 2 as well as other chains simultaneously, effectively going multi-chain. White Whale, for instance, is going to be deploying arbitrage tooling across the entire Cosmos networks. Loop Finance still seems to be undecided exactly where they're going to end up and are considering multiple options. Apollo DAO is similar. Fujira has announced they'll be starting their own app chain on Cosmos and should be able to provide liquidation services for the entire ecosystem. It's a move they may have been planning to do anyway. And once interchain accounts go live via the IBC networks later in the year, everything becomes vastly more composable anyway, and what chain you're actually deployed on becomes less significant. Reactor Money looks to be pivoting its entire use case entirely, and is trying to become the go-to borrowing and lending platform for the entire Cosmos ecosystem. This may be in part due to the uncertainty from the Mars team, who are yet to signal their intentions. Now since the implosion of Terra, other key Cosmos networks are welcoming devs from Terra with open arms, with the Juno network and Osmosis providing funding for devs to find a new home. There are some murmurings that maybe the Mars team is going to move across to Osmosis, and I suspect wherever Mars ends up, Lavana could follow. I haven't heard anything from the Edge protocol, which is another borrowing and lending platform, and Derby Stars looks to be deciding its future home. Bam Fury has already decided to move towards Juno, and there's a good chance that Retrograde Money could partner up with a new permissioned DeFi chain called the Say Network, which plans to launch in August. The Say network looks to provide an order book-based decentralized exchange with large institutions providing liquidity. Sounds like a very interesting project, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it evolves. Now finally, this is just my own guesswork here, but I believe the following protocols will be in some trouble. The Mirror protocol seems to be unsustainable in its previous model, and I was struggling to work out how it was going to work moving forward without any Mirror protocol incentives. The Vertex protocol was obviously based on the stablecoin ecosystem within Terra, so I don't see how they can move forward until an alternative presents itself, which could take some time. And the Sabera protocol was based off using the yield from the Anchor protocol. Now as the macro environment deteriorates further, DeFi yields across the board are falling, making their business model harder to sustain. In any case, I wish them well, and it looks like they're moving across to Ethereum. In summary, the Terra 2 blockchain is launching tomorrow with a whole slew of established protocols that might actually thrive in an environment where they don't have to compete with the unsustainable 20% anchor yield and the highly deflationary Luna 1 token. If some of these DeFi protocols can continue to attract liquidity and generate real revenues, the future could still be bright for them. And the Terra ecosystem will still have some of the best user experience and onboarding facilities in all of crypto. And I'm still optimistic the network could do quite well in the long term. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and maybe consider watching one of my other videos.